Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Worthington Woods and the celebration that marks the 1,000th unit preserved through DC's new Preservation Fund. Just want to point out this is an amazing accomplishment because the fund was only started less than a year ago. So congratulations, Mayor and your team. My name is Artie Harris, and I'm Vice President of Montgomery Housing Partnership, also called MHP. You'll hear more about MHP from our President, Robert Goldman, in a little bit, but I want to say that MHP and our partners are delighted about the preservation of Worthington Woods. With Worthington Woods, we now provide more than 1,200 affordable homes for people in the area. We know that affordable housing is so critically needed in the district, and we are excited to be able to fill just a portion of that gap through the preservation of Worthington Woods. Before I bring up our first speaker, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of the individuals and organizations that made it possible for today, this celebration. First, Ward 8 Councilmember Trayon White and at-large Councilmember Anita Bonds. The Advisory Neighborhood Commission for this area, including the Commissioner Jordan for this district. The Department of Housing and Community Development, led by Polly Donaldson, and also her staff, especially Anna Van Balen, who oversees the Preservation Group. The Latino Economic Development Community, which helped so greatly in organizing the residents to become a tenant organization. So we're really happy for LEDC. And I'd also like to thank W.C. Smith, the former owner of this property. They were extremely helpful during the acquisition and transition process. So thank you, W.C. Smith. Thanks go out to MHP's board members that are so helpful in the whole process, and we're grateful to our board members. And if our MHP's board members can stand, I would appreciate it. And then our development partners for this project. There's the Anacostia Economic Development Corporation, also known as AEDC. There's Capital Impact Partners, one of our lenders, Sandy Spring Bank, another lender, WDC Solar. So when we first became part of working with the Tenants Association, they said, we want you to consider solar for this project. And so that's why we have WDC Solar here. WDC Solar and AEDC will also be providing opportunities for jobs for the residents of this community. Okay. And last but not least, I want to recognize the Tenant Association Board, which we worked tirelessly with during this whole process. They're led by Evelyn Harris, the president, but there's also Ronnie Jameson, Angela Kroon, Lenina Gauman, and Marjorie Lawal. So working with the Tenant Association has been a true partnership in every sense of the word. My colleague Don and I met with the Tenant Association every month for 15 months. And it was so important. I enjoyed coming to every meeting. They were truly engaged in the process, wanting to make Worthington Woods the best community around. So it's now my great pleasure to bring up Ronnie Jameson, the Vice President of the Worthington Woods Tenants Organization. Thank you, Ronnie.
Good morning. My name is Ronnie Jameson, and I'm Vice President of Worthington Woods Tenants Organization. I'm so happy to see all of you here today. I've lived in this neighborhood for 25 years, and here at Worthington Woods for the past 5 years, right in the unit in front of you. I've seen a lot of changes in other parts of the city and other neighborhoods. I've seen a lot of even other neighborhoods that are very close to us. Most of the time when we hear the words development, people like me get scared because that usually means that we are pushed out. So I'm so excited today through the work of MHP and this neighborhood will continue and remain affordable for existing residents. This is our home, and we take great pride. We take great pride in that. We are keeping this neighborhood together through preservation, and that is a very good thing, not just for this community, but for the entire city. Our children will still be able to attend P.R. Harris Elementary, Ballou High School, UDC, right here at the end of this block in our neighborhood. Worthington Woods Tenants Organization will be vested 15% in this property. We've been overjoyed to work with the MHP in this process. They've listened to us and been flexible in working with us. Now, we get to upgrade this property needs, including a clubhouse community center, which will be beneficial to our children and our seniors. We were excited when MHP was chosen as the new owner of this property. And now we want to make sure that MHP has all the resources it needs to support their plans for Worthington Woods. We appreciate all the support that the city has given MHP, and we hope it continues going forward. And now, I'm pleased and honored to introduce to you your mayor and my mayor, the Honorable Mayor Muriel Bowser. Let's give her a hand. Thank you.
Well, let's give Ronnie a great round of applause. I love your spirit, and I love your neighborhood, and I love this community. I am so happy to be here today, and I am happy to be talking about what is so important to Washington, D.C., and that's how we preserve beautiful communities like Worthington Woods. Let's hear it for the Worthington Woods community. And when we look around our city, just like Mr. Jameson said, we see a lot of change. And it's so important that we have change. Things can't stay the same. Everything needs a freshening up, an upgrade from time to time, including all of us, right? We go to the doctor, we get our hair done, we exercise, we got to keep ourselves in shape. And our communities are no different. It's so important, however, that as things change, they are enhanced for the people who live there. And that is the story of housing preservation. Looking at some of the really good housing stock that we already have in Washington, D.C., and committing to saving it, preserving it, and making sure it'll be there for Mr. Jameson, for all of you, and for the generation that follows all of us. And that's why we established the Housing Preservation Fund. Let me acknowledge my friend from Montgomery County, Mayor Slavin. Give Mayor Slavin a big round of applause. They're talking a lot about preservation in Montgomery County, too, because really it's very important for the region. And you will remember that a couple of years ago, I established in my first year in office a housing preservation strike force. And the reason for that strike force was not only to talk about all the new units we need to build, but all the units we must save. And when we can save those units, we know that we are on our way to making sure that all of the people who want to move here And there are a lot of people that want to move here. And all of us who are already here can have safe, affordable places to live. Last week, I introduced a piece of work that I have been involved in for the last 7 or 8 months, lead for the National League of Cities. So I work with mayors and legislatures across the United States of America when I chaired a national housing task force. And you won't be surprised that there are other cities that are in the same position that we are. People want to live here, people want to stay here, and prices are going up. And we recognize that we need new tools to deal with a housing crisis that's coming across our nation. We're lucky in D.C. that we got a little bit ahead of the game, right, Mr. Turner, who's joining us from HUD, that we have a housing preservation fund that allows us to build and preserve new units. But we also have a preservation fund that we have $10 million invested of our D.C. tax dollars. But with that $10 million, we can attract private dollars. And I want to acknowledge our housing preservation officer. Thank you for being here with us. Our team at DHCD, including Polly Donaldson, our director. And now I have an opportunity to also acknowledge our deputy director, Allison Ladd. And you know what happens when you do good work? People snatch you. And Allison has just gotten a really fantastic appointment in New Jersey, working for my good friend Ras Baraka. So I want to congratulate Allison and thank her for her service to Washington, D.C. So you and our partners at LISC, our partners for LISC here who are helping us manage our housing preservation funds and capital impact partners, thank you for your commitment to all of the work that we're doing. So we know today we're celebrating the preservation of 394 units here at Worthington Woods. And Polly knows that we're going to stop talking about just units. It's easy to talk about units, isn't it? But what each of those units represents are people. People who get to stay in an affordable home, people who've lived in a place for 25 years and can plan to live in a place for as long as they want. It represents grandmothers and grandfathers who get to help out with grandchildren. It represents somebody not having to move to a nursing home because they have safe and affordable housing. That's what 395 units is. It's thousands of people, hopes, dreams, and opportunities. And that's what we are committed to preserving. So we thought that the number of units that could be preserved with our initial investment was about 1,000. But I am proud to be able to say that we have exceeded that goal. And with the addition of Worthington Woods, we're at 1,152 affordable homes. And we are not finished, but we are going to need your help. We have to let everybody know about Worthington Woods and about how this preservation fund has allowed this project to get refreshed and renewed and stay affordable. And then next year, when I come to talk to you about the budget, I want you to remember this. Just a few months ago, the Housing Preservation Fund was zeroed out by the council. And I don't want to be political or critical, but I have to make this observation because this is what we're talking about. So next year, I'm going to go back to the council and not only tell them to get us back to $10 million in the Housing Preservation Fund where we started, but we have to do even more because we need to save communities like Worthington Woods and keep them affordable. Some will tell you there's another way to do it. I'm telling you, this is the way to do it. 1,152 units saved in 1 year. And so we're going to keep working, we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to count on you to help us. So with that, I want to invite our leader of DHCD, our Housing and Community Development Fund, who I have charged with handling my commitment to affordable housing. And that's doubling the amount in our Housing Preservation Fund. When I started, it was $50 million in HPTF. Now we're at $116 million in HPTF. When I started, we had no preservation fund. And now we do. And we have a public and private commitment to delivering units just like these here at Worthington Woods. And we're also focused on making sure people of all incomes can stay in our neighborhoods, including workforce housing for teachers, firefighters, and government employees, so that we can invest in those units as well. So with that, let me invite Polly to the stage.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a special day because this was a vision, and I've had the privilege since 2015 of implementing Mayor Bowser's vision for affordable housing here in the district. And I know their partners in this room, everybody here under this tent, who have worked so hard to help achieve that. I want to start to acknowledge a few. I do want to acknowledge the chair of the Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization Committee, Councilmember Bonds, who has been supportive and helped put back some of that preservation funding. I want to acknowledge Councilmember White, who was also a member of the Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization Committee. He is a father of a newborn, and I believe is with his newborn today. So we should give him certainly a pass for that and congratulate him very much. I also want to thank the Preservation Fund managers. You know, the innovation that we have been trying to bring to the district is really about saying government can't do it all, but in partnership with the private sector, we can. And we have two fund managers who committed the leverage, 3-to-1 leverage. So we put in 10, they put in 30. That is how we're going to get things done with these partnerships. So Capital Impact Partners, you're going to hear in a moment from them, and List DC, they are our partners in this, and we're really delighted to be able to work with you on that. I do want to thank, of course, the team at DHCD, especially Allison Ladd, who's given so much over the past 4 years. And really we're going to miss you very much, but you're going to do great things in Newark, and I know that. Also, our preservation officer, Anna Van Balen, has been here. This fund has been in existence for less than a year and already 1,100 units. Anna, thank you and your team at the Preservation Unit. Thank you so much. I just left in a housing event in Ward 3, the Urban Land Institute. Lisa Rother is here from the Urban Land Institute, is doing a study of how to build more affordable housing in Ward 3 in particular, although we need it across the city. But there's not a lot in Ward 3, and so really focusing in on what would it take to do that? How do you bring the community together to do that? I will say the Preservation Fund is one of our few affordable housing tools that works in both Ward 8 and Ward 3. We've just funded our first project in Ward 3 on Wisconsin Avenue, right across from the cathedral, a 20-unit building that's going to be preserved as affordable housing. Thank you, List DC, for making that happen. Thank you. I will say that what we have done, again, the vision, the idea, what we needed to do, and we are recognized nationally, not just the mayor's leadership of the National League of Cities, but the investments that she has made. We've been given awards, recognized for that. I know I'm the envy of other housing directors across the country because I have resources. We have now basically, together with the mayor's commitment, made the Housing Production Trust Fund a $100 million plus fund, but we also now, with 3 years of appropriations for the preservation fund and the leverage, that's now 100. We have twin $100 million funds here that the private sector recognizes. You can talk to the banks. They know what that means. That means we're at the table, we are there, we are committed, and that will draw in even more private capital. So again, the political will to make that happen for preservation and production. Thank you all who've made that happen, especially Mayor Bowser. But we need to do more, and we are going to do more. And I will say that our goal, and we have a very clear goal, 36,000 units, new. We need the supply of housing. We need over a third of them to be affordable units for low, moderate, and middle income. And we are working towards that goal at DHCD. And with your help and with the model of projects like that, we will make this happen and we will do more. So congratulations to CIP, Montgomery Housing Partnership, my old friend Artie Harris, Rob Goldman as well as president of MHP. And now I'd like to welcome to the podium Rob Goldman from Montgomery Housing Partnership. Rob.
Good morning. An exciting day today. Unlike what your program says, I'm not Councilmember White, but my name is Rob Goldman, and I'm the president of MHP. MHP is dedicated to a mission of providing and preserving and expanding the access of quality, affordable housing around this region. We're celebrating 30 years of housing people, empowering families, and strengthening neighborhoods. At MHP, we provide more than just housing. Through our many programs, we're making home possible. MHP is proud to be able to preserve Worthington Woods, our first apartment community in the District of Columbia. That's worthy of applause, yes. And this has special meaning for me. As I got my start in housing in D.C. many years ago, working as the Chief of Staff for the D.C. City Council's Committee on Housing under the leadership of Councilmember Frank Smith. So with MHP's work with Worthington Woods, I feel like I'm coming home to where it all started. It's great to see the leadership of Councilmember Anita Bonds carrying the mantle forward on this important issue as the current chair of the committee's Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization. As the mayor mentioned, as we talk about housing, we often measure our success in terms of units. For MHP, this acquisition represents a huge milestone for our organization. As we now have developed over 2,000 units. But the work we do is about more than units. It's about creating a place called home, a place to relax after a hard day's work, a place to feel safe, and a place where the kids can create their own memories. So we are very excited to now be providing over 2,000 quality, affordable homes and serving over 4,500 residents. Likewise, for the mayor and her staff, their success today is not just that they preserved 1,000 affordable units. It's that they saved 1,000 families from the risk of losing their home. Worthington Woods is a prime example. Without the mayor's preservation fund, this property could have ended up in the hands of someone who have looked to redevelop the property or increase the rents and displaced many of the longtime residents. Thanks to the mayor's leadership, Worthington Woods will be preserved as an affordable place to live by a mission-oriented nonprofit dedicated to the long-term happiness and success of our residents. With this preservation fund, Mayor Bowser has demonstrated real leadership, making her not only one of the region's top leaders on this issue, but a national leader as well. This effort to preserve Worthington Woods has been a partnership from the start. In addition to the mayor, I'd also like to thank Councilmember Trayon White, who represents Ward 8 and also serves on the Committee on Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization, and is a real leader in this community. His office was very helpful in giving us advice and insights on the community's needs early on in this process. I'd also like to thank Polly Donaldson and the wonderful staff at DHCD, as well as the folks at Capital Impact Partners who helped manage part of this preservation fund and helped with the purchase of this property. We're also very pleased to be partnering with the Worthington Woods Tenants Organization. We heard from Ronnie, and you can tell how excited the residents are. As well, we're partnering with the Anacostia Economic Development Corporation to help deliver on this opportunity to modernize this property and preserve so much needed affordable apartments. Lastly, I'd like to thank my staff for all their hard work. Especially, I'd like to thank Don Haig, who has worked tirelessly to make this happen, and Artie Harris, our VP of Real Estate. I'd also like to recognize Res One, the new management company for this property. Today's acquisition is just the start, though. We now look to put financing together to upgrade systems and to do much-needed repairs. Most importantly, we're looking to build a small community center right here behind us. In order that we may provide an array of programs for the kids and adult residents as part of our effort to empower families and strengthen neighborhoods. We look forward to collaborating with the residents of Worthington Woods so that together we can develop programs to meet their needs. So thank you. I'm pleased to now introduce Catherine Murtha from the Capital Impact Partners.
Good morning. First, I want to thank the Department of Housing and Community Development, our partners at Montgomery Housing Partnership, and Mayor Bowser for her leadership in helping support affordable housing as a cornerstone of an inclusive growth strategy for the city. For those unfamiliar with us, Capital Impact Partners is a community development financial institution, which can be a bit of a mouthful. You can think of us as a mission-driven lending organization focused on helping build communities of opportunity that break down the barriers to success. We help ensure that important projects which provide critical social services in underinvested communities get the financing they need to succeed. This includes clinics, schools, healthy food retailers, and of course, affordable housing developments. DHCD selected Capital Impact to manage the Affordable Housing Preservation Fund to provide financing to developers like Montgomery Housing Partnership so residential communities like Worthington remain affordable and residents can live close to services, transportation, and employment. In a similar effort not too far from here, we worked with the NHP Foundation to ensure the long-term affordability of the 272 units at Ridgecrest Village by providing a $7.5 million in financing that otherwise wouldn't have been possible without the support from the city to create this fund. Over our 35-year history, we've deployed more than $2.7 billion in communities across the United States. But I'm especially proud that being headquartered just across the river has deepened our understanding of the needs of the district and given us the chance to work with local residents to build solutions from the ground up. Since 2017, we've taken what we learned and turned that into $62 million of investments into the region. Across a variety of projects benefiting over 65,000 low-income earners. You heard one incredible story of opportunity today. With the city and local partners, we hope to create many more in the future through our use of mission-driven financing. Thank you.
Okay, so you heard the story of Worthington Woods. Let's give all of our participants a big round of applause. I will take a few questions, and then I think we're going to take a big picture. I'll start with the press. Any press questions? Press questions, press questions, press questions. Okay, any other questions? All right, that does it.